right that you need to find better at the first stage. You need to find where is your audience, and then start being active in that specific channel. For example, if your clients are on LinkedIn, you need to, of course, be active more on LinkedIn. And in this way, you can find people who are actually have a lot of followers on LinkedIn and ask them to, or send your product or service for them for free trial, and they can review it easier. And this will give you, of course, more audience, because people trust these influencers, and this trust helps them to also believe in what they are telling about your product. So if you get a really good comment from an influencer, it will help you, of course, gain more customers. So, and let me say also, influencers can be cheaper than paid ads, because it would be easier to connect your audience. But in this case, you need to concentrate not on looking for for those influencers who have large followers, but those who have high engagement, because the engagement is more important than having like millions of followers who don't like react to your to your status or your posts.
Yeah, I agree with that, because for people listening, that engagement piece is what is going to be the difference between a lot of people then buying because that person has recommended it or not. So you do have to look at a number of different metrics to pick the right influencer. And it is something I feel we've done influencer campaigns, and it is harder to cut through now because there's so much of it. This is now people's jobs to day in, day out advertise a different product, but absolutely brands can still be made through working with influencers. And we've spoken to small businesses where people have said before, I don't want to gift my product away, I don't want to send it, the cost involved. But then separately, they may be spending hundreds of pounds on another avenue that they're not able to track a return from at all. And actually, if they took the time to find that right influencer for them and their target audience, and that all links back to everything we've been discussing so far with finding your niche, setting your objectives, etc., because that mindset would help you find the right influencer without you having to engage with an agency to go out there and manage that. But actually, for you to feel like, I can message these people because they resonate with my target audience, they are my target audience, but that they have a really strong following. So yeah, absolutely, I think influencers can be a great way. Don't get me wrong, it can be very expensive, but I think that's the case with a lot of these things we're discussing, is there's a varying scale. And potentially a lot of marketers or business owners are more aware of everything at the high end scale. And that's what puts them off from getting started, because they think influencers, that's going to cost me a fortune, video, that's going to cost me a fortune. But actually, you can always get started somewhere. And I think that the main piece of that is social media. And if we look now at the fact that social media is still a free tool, you do not have to pay to use social media. The social platforms make their money through advertising, through selling your data, but you are there for free. Your audience are there for free. And there are so many different channels that do so many different things that there is a social media platform for everyone. So if you're looking to get started, just really, really invest on being active on social media, because that way you can grow your brand, you can generate leads, you can generate engagement. Social media is such a great place not only to get new business, but to hire people and, to make new business partnerships that could help allow your business to be more profitable. So really being active. The main thing for me above any of this is, if you were to only do one thing, it would have to be social media, because I think all these other things we've spoken about kind of go off from it. Because if you create video but you don't post it anywhere, you're not going to get too much engagement from it. If you're not active on social media but you've engaged an influencer but there's no channel there, there's nothing, no page for people to go look at, you're very unlikely to get any sales from it. So I think, if you were to do one thing, it would be to master the social media channels that your audience are spending time on.
And one day you may become a mediapreneur.
Yeah.
I guess maybe we should attend your training session, Claire.
Yeah, so that's happening on the 5th of February. I think it's the day after this podcast goes out, so it might be a bit late. But if anyone's interested, we will happily run another one.
Fantastic. No, but I like what you're talking about in terms of free tools. There are a lot of free tools out there that you can be using to promote yourself. We talked about obviously Eventbrite to go out and find events, but you can use so many different elements in terms of like MailChimp is free for you to build your email database out and create email campaigns from. You've got stuff like Hootsuite that will help you plan and schedule posts, and you have a free platform within that to help you push that out. You've got free tools to understand what your competitors are doing, stuff like Facebook ads library, all the way to looking on LinkedIn. And if you go to your competitors' LinkedIn, you can actually see what they're posting, the type of content they're posting. And the biggest free tool is your website. Create blogs and content based on what right now is relevant to your industry, what's happening, what's on trend. And if you're struggling with what to share across social platform, then you should be taking that blog content URL and pasting it in to your LinkedIn feed and telling people and using the right hashtags to say, here's an article I wrote about X, and it should help you understand X and Y value to your business. So, if you're an IT company, in terms of, how should they be communicating with their employees internally online, and how important is it to be, active and creating certain IT procedures in place, because we could be recording right now and our IT, our internet could go, what do we do? What's the fail safe? And, a lot of businesses have had to adapt, and it's understanding your ideal customers, or if you're B2B, your business's ideal customers' pain points, and reach out to that, because, everybody's looking for help. Everyone's looking for support, whether it's paid or free. And there is a market out there for you to go out and get business and use tools as suggested. Look at what your competitors are doing. Not to say you should just copy, but you'll get an idea of how active they are. And if they're not active, then it gives you an opportunity to be just as active to increase your market share. Because as you've got to approach it as if you're in a recession. The companies that tend to, invest their time as well as some of their budget into marketing now will come out of this pandemic stronger. And we saw that last year. Some businesses that doubled down when everybody went into lockdown and increased their marketing activity really recovered from the end of 2020. We're in another lockdown. So those businesses, again, continuing to invest their time and resources into digital marketing, even with small budgets, will come out a bit stronger when we get into Q2 and Q3.
One question, actually, I wanted to ask you both as social media experts. Do you think that business owners need to mostly concentrate on activating their own personal profiles or business profiles, or which one of them would be easier to do?
I think that's a really good question. And there's pros and cons to both. We're definitely seeing a rise at the moment of this like personal brand identity. So actually helping raise your business through a key stakeholder who is promoting themselves online. A really good example of this in the UK is Brewdog. Their CEO now, he is so active on LinkedIn, especially sharing the growth of the business through his own viewpoint. The issue you have is that's all well and good now. He's already kind of reached fame. And you see it, for example, with Stephen Bartlett, who was the CEO of Social Chain and started a phenomenal social media agency. And he's created his own personal brand. But I'd say they've done that on the back of the business. So I think it's really important to focus on the business as well, because the trap you don't want to fall into is you create a business that is based on you. Because depending what sector you're in, that could then become very limiting. It's no longer scalable. If everyone sees this business is about you and you alone, so when you're gone or if anything happens to you, what's left of the business? So I think it's really important to make sure that you're really evaluating what's right for your audience. So I would definitely say don't neglect the business side, because ultimately it is about the business. But if at the moment you are a business of one, you may always be a business of one depending what you're in, then absolutely your own personal brand as well, and raising that up is going to help, because ultimately people do buy from people, and there's always going to be that element if they see a true side and they see insights into your personal story, that makes them buy into it. But I'd say it comes down to, what do you want them to remember? Do you want them to remember your business name, or do you want them to remember your name? And that is probably the tipping point on the scales as to where you should invest your time.
I agree. Everything that I do is focused on building the Bobble brand. So I'm very active, as if anyone sees, across my own personal profile, doing polls, doing, giving advice. And Bobble Digital is very active as well. We do our weekly, blogs, content sharing. We promote our Bobble Pod. We promote the Bobble Bite Size events, etc. And it's all about one key thing that we focus on: education. We want people to be able to go to our platforms and get valuable insights and tips and create thought-provoking engagements that will make them think and get value from it. Not just go to a site and see someone selling their services or, constantly. It's all about providing value. Right now, people are looking for answers, and that's what we gear our approach to: education and providing answers for people. If you can help someone with a burning topic or question they have, or help them, guide them toward the right answer, they will find that more valuable. And that's what our website and our social media platforms mainly focus on, as well as trying to be on trend and, being reactive to what's going on. My personal profile supports that. So I try to be an expert in my field. I'm sharing, events that I get invited to, other podcasts that I get invited to talk about. I'm always pushing out thought-provoking opinion polls across LinkedIn. And then we use that data to inform our wider platforms. So if anyone sees it, it's always about, we're talking about digital marketing. I'm not really pushing myself. I'm trying to push myself as, if you have questions around digital marketing, I'm the person you want to ask. And they then associate that, that all comes from the agency that we run, which is, which are experts in their field and help educate the wider audience. And it is finding that balance. It's never easy. But, my personal brand has been built from the business brand. And it helps that my nickname is Bobble, and I called it Bobble Digital to some extent.
You are the brand, Manny.
No, fantastic. There's a couple of other things that I want us all to kind of discuss whilst we still have you here. One of the things I wanted to quickly talk about is platforms that have a low entry point, because it's not just about free tools. It is about obviously understanding your objectives, but some businesses are like, well, I have some money to spend. Where do I spend it? Now, we've already said it's about understanding your audience, but I think it's about being agile. It's, if you're not sure where to begin, test and understand which platforms work. Don't just test everything and expect it all to work. Focus on a few platforms. And if you're a small local business trying to reach out to an audience, let's say in a local area, you can do that. Platforms like Google and Facebook allow you to target to a local level. An example we had was before lockdown was where we were working with a fitness studio that was based in Ilkley. And we were just targeting the Ilkley postcode and every other connecting postcode on the map. So we only target a specific area. That allowed us to really focus on any keywords of people looking for yoga, Pilates, and wider services in that area. So anyone in that area on a mobile phone or on the desktop looking for those services, more often than not, they were going to see this fitness studio more than anything else. And again, with Facebook, we did the same thing, geo-targeting. If you're a local small business, you don't need to be thinking big budgets, because you can make a budget go really, really far by just doing local geo-targeting reach and understanding your audience, focusing on what you do. So, within, Facebook, you can target again by postcode region. and do a mile radius of where you are, for example, just to cover your catchment area. If you're a local takeaway, for example, you could pinpoint your location of where your takeaway is and just look at a 2 mile drive radius if that's how far you want to go for deliveries, because takeaways are closed for people to attend. You have to deliver out. There are so many different platforms out there that have a lower cost entry points, and